guys! So I'm obviously back in the forest. Today I just wanted to come out and do some sketching, so I grabbed my little sketchbook with some markers and pens and graphite, and I don't really know what I'm gonna do, but hopefully the inspiration will strike because there's so many beautiful colors and scenes happening still. It's not winter yet. I'm going to be drawing this tree for now. I might move on to another spot shortly because it is very cold and my face already feels like it's numb. But I really want to practice drawing all these kind of scraggly branches that intertwine. So yeah, let's get started. I also brought my Blick markers. I got these when I visited my friend in Utah, and I've only used them a couple times. They are double tipped, so they have a broad tip and a fine tip. And then I did get a couple of their studio markers, which I think sort of mimic the Copic markers. I'm not sure. I don't know about Copic markers, but these are my tools for the day. When I start my tree drawings, I usually begin with the base, where the tree trunk grows out of the ground, because obviously we need a foundation to work off of. And in the beginning stages, all I'm doing is trying to establish the major landmarks of the shape of the tree. So maybe the way that the tree curves in a certain way, some of the major branches that come up out of the base, and just really sketchy marks. And I'm always comparing different pieces of the tree to each other to understand the scale of them and the perspective. So in this case, there are tons of the scraggly branches coming out, and you could kind of wing it in this case, but whenever I'm learning, I want to be pretty accurate so that I understand how trees actually grow. And I probably won't sit here and draw every single branch, but just enough to get a general idea. Sometimes they have really strange ways of growing, and it surprises you when you actually sit down and draw it from life. You might not think that's what you'd see. In this phase, it's totally cool to overlap your lines. Sometimes it just helps to do that because you can't always see everything right away. It takes you a little while. Oh my gosh, there's like debris falling on me from above. I shouldn't be surprised. Also, it was raining a second ago, so I'm not sure how long I have out here, but this is just going to be another quick sketch, I think. My face is very numb, and I have my gloves on, but even that is a little too cold for my taste. When it comes to the values, in person, the tree is a lot darker than the background. And these branches that come towards me in the front are much darker than the tree branches in the background in the distance. So that's one thing that I'm going to focus on in my drawing. I'm not going to draw like the whole background that you see, just like maybe a couple colors or textures back there to keep it on the focus on this tree. And I also want to capture the moss patterns, so maybe using like a brownish gray tone for the base of the tree and some of the green tones for the moss. I probably should have done this before I left the house, but I'm going to do a really quick swatch of each of these colors just so I know how it looks on the paper and I kind of get an idea of the values before I get going on the drawing. Okay, I have all my colors swatched out, and as you can see, I have mostly earthy tones, but I think because I'm not as familiar with markers as a medium, I'm going to just choose a limited palette and make it a little easier for myself. If I try to match what I see in person to my colors, it helps a little bit, but it's impossible because these colors aren't exactly what I see in nature. So I kind of have to make an artistic decision. So when I look up here, I do have a lot of brights in the background, in the distant background, and then I have some more neutral grayish tones in the mid ground, and then in the foreground I have all my more saturated tones like the bright greens and the bright reds and oranges. So I think what I'll do, I'm not going to use any blue, but I think I'm going to use the lime, the olive, because those two are pretty warm. And then in my cooler greens, I'll use the dark green olive. So all my greens will be used. And then I need to choose from the browns. And I think for fun, I'm going to go with the burnt orange, the brick red, and then a more neutral one, which is the dark brown. Now, I don't know if this is what people who use markers do, but I'm going to start from the furthest part away and the lightest part. So this is my lime, the really bright green. It's almost like a yellowish green. And I'm going to drop in some of those distant brights. And I'm using the chunky brush, the chunky side, which is called broad, because I really like making more of a graphic look when I'm using markers. I've only, like I said, done it a few times in the past, but this was my favorite way of using them. So the background here is just going to be lots of overlapping color, and I will come back in with the orange as well and get a little bit of variety back here. So next we have the dark brown, which is my more neutral, it's not cool brown, but it's not as vibrant. So I'm going to be using this for some of the base tones of the tree. And I'm kind of using it light pressure. I'm not like pressing down in order to get really thick application of color. I'm leaving some of the white of the paper showing through because I think that will help. I don't have white, I don't have a light color, I don't have any like really neutral grays or light browns, so I have to work with the paper. And the sun is coming from the left side, so the left side of the tree branches and the tree trunk I'm going to leave a little bit lighter by letting the paper show through. Again, I'm kind of just winging it. I don't know what the best strategy is with markers yet. I'm still getting used to it. And I kind of feel vulnerable doing this on video, but I know people can feel intimidated by going out and doing plein air, especially with a new medium. And I just wanted to show my process for getting over that fear is just to do it. Just jump right in and try it. The worst that can happen is that you come out with kind of a crappy drawing, but that crappy drawing is going to teach you so much, and you'll look back on it years down the road and be really happy that you did it, because each drawing, each painting is a stepping stone. So I was thinking about it, and I said I wasn't going to use blue in this drawing, but I thought if I overlay the blue on top of that dark brown, I think it will make it look a little more gray. And then sort of fill in some of the whiteness in the shadow layer and the shadow side. Plus there is a blue sky in the background, so there is a little bit of blue reflecting on the tree. So with markers, I kind of forget that you have to layer things. I'm so used to painting where, you fill the page with water and you touch it with paint and it kind of fills in whatever you want it to. But with markers, it's like every single stroke is manual, and shadow here. So now I'm taking my fine brush tip with my olive color, and I'm going to come back in and start doing some of the chunks of moss that are on the branches. This has got a brush tip, so it's like a lot smoother. I actually realized that it works really nice for creating that soft mossy look. And now I'm really glad I left some of the paper showing through, because it makes this green not so dark, and I can still leave a hint of that paper showing through by pressing very lightly if I need to. Just create a bit of a pop of light. But it is a relative, like the tree itself is a lot darker than the background, so I have to make sure I capture that properly. Otherwise it'll all just like blur together. And I'm remembering that the next layer, my dark green, will be my darkest tone, so I don't have to worry about layering this one too much, just to get these mossy. It's always fun to leave the most dramatic layer for last, because it really makes it pop off the page. And this lower part of the tree is really mossy, so I want to make sure pretty much all of it has some green on it and there's no white left over. I can leave a little bit of the brown or the blue showing through. There's also some like mounds of moss down here. I'm assuming they're on the roots or the rocks or something. Okay, time for the last layer. I'm going to start with my fine tip brush and work on some of these scraggly branches that are up here, and make sure I'm capturing the shadow side of the branch. I can't sit here for too much longer because my hands and my face are numb. If I press lightly, I can actually get a variety of line, which is nice. Okay, moment of truth. Time to put on the biggest section of darkness with my chunky side of the brush, which also is great for this bark. My phone is dying, so I don't have much time left. If it dies, I have my nice camera, but without a tripod. But then I can at least take a photo and show you guys. Kind of forces you to work quickly. I'm using negative space around the base of the tree to let some of those mossy chunks on the forest floor show through. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you did. I might try more marker in the future. Maybe if I get some more variety of colors, maybe some more neutral tones would be nice. I think that'll do. As I paint more, as I draw more. All right, guys. Until next time, I hope you guys are enjoying your autumn. And if you can, get out there and paint and stay inspired. I'll see you guys soon.